On this episode of ReLiterated, we deal with the consequences of being three grown-ass men with lives of our own and occasionally incompatible schedules that are hard to sync up week to week. Ender's Game is going to have to be put on hold as Harold and Josh pick up the slack for Andy by discussing the children's classic Harold and the Purple Crayon in this intermission episode of ReLiterated. This week with 33% fewer hosts, but still as fun as ever.
Welcome to ReLiterated, the lowbrow book club of three grown-ass men reading the children's books popular in the 1990s, but with 2020's hindsight. Fair warning, we use language too mature for kids, analysis too immature for literary scholars, and ignorance too profound to be inoffensive to everyone. You can interact with us and enjoy all kinds of bonus content by searching ReLiterated on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and Facebook. Or you can ask us questions, suggest future episodes, or tell us what we've missed by sending us an email at reliterated@gmail.com. My name's Harold.
And I'm Josh.
And as you may have noticed, one of the three amigos is not here tonight. He is not with us. Unfortunately, Andy is out on a date. He felt that living life outside of his home was more important than being here to record part 3 of Ender's Game.
I mean, how's that supposed to make me feel?
That's what I wonder. I wonder what it makes me feel like. I mean, sure, he wants to go meet somebody and have fun with new people, but what about us old people? Not that we're old people.
I mean
we're kind of.
I turned 40 in less than a month, so
yeah,
it's starting to hit. It's starting to hit real hard.
I'm sneaking up on 40 myself, so got a couple more years to go though.
So yeah, we're Andy-less tonight, but life happens, and good on him for getting out there back into the world. I'm still scared that there's I'm gonna get something from somebody. So
the Delta variant.
Yes.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Loki, spoilers, but the Delta variant is from a different timeline.
Yep.
And the TVA was unable to prune that timeline.
I blame it all on that crocodile.
It probably Crocodile Loki.
It was probably Crocodile Loki.
So what we decided to do tonight is instead of recording part 3 of Ender's Game without Andy, which is something we didn't want to do, we are going to do a miniature episode that's kind of a little intermission between part 2 and 3. And the book we chose is an actual children's book. This children's book is close to my heart. I've had this book since I was very young, since before I can remember. My parents got it for me, and you'll be able to tell when I give the title. There's a very clear reason they got this book for me, and it's that I was a big fan of crayons. The book we are reading tonight is Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson.
I was like, I'm not gonna laugh at that joke. I refuse to acknowledge it.
You're not gonna
acknowledge that joke right there. I'm just gonna leave the pause in and then laugh after the fact because that is funnier to me. Leaving the pause.
The pause is gonna get cleaned out, You
don't know about that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, leave it in. Come on. It makes it funnier.
So this book, seriously though, I've had this book since I was very, very young. Obviously, my parents got it for me because the titular character is named Harold, and it is very difficult to find a book at least with Harold in the title. I've seen other books that have Harold as a character, but not in the title. You can Bing it yourself, and you will find that there are not any kids' books like that, or teenager books, or anything.
I only found one Joshua book, and I actually picked that up at a thrift store a few weeks ago, so we might come across that at one point. But I did want to ask you, Harold, how hard is it to find like license plates, keychains, things like that when you go to Cedar Point or Disney World? How hard is it to find license plates and things like that with your name on it?
I used to find them back in the 90s. I could find them, but my parents, of course, my family never really bought that stuff just because it was frivolous and useless. And I was a kid, and I understand, like, I don't necessarily buy silly things. I wish I would have gotten more of them, but now, no, I have not found something with Harold written on it unless it is custom made with Harold written on it. I've gotten a few like knives and stuff like that people have gotten me, but they had to commission the name Harold to be written on it.
Well, that was a waste. Didn't they know that you make knives?
Right. That's a new thing.
That's true.
So Crockett Johnson, who's actually been dead since 1975, was a pen name of an American cartoonist and children's book illustrator named David Johnson Leisk. And he wrote the comic strip Barnaby.
Really?
And then, yeah. And apparently there is a series of Harold books, but it begins with Harold and the Purple Crayon.
Yeah, when I binged it earlier today, I saw that there are quite a few different children's books, but they're all for younger groups.
Yeah, so maybe we'll make this as something we do for any of these intermission episodes. We'll follow the Harold story.
I think that's a good idea. Or
yeah,
other really really young kids books, because they're quick. The one that I like that it won't go over well as a podcast because it's a very visual book. I brought it out just in case, and I was like, oh yeah, because this book is called The Ice Cream Cone Coot and Other Rare Birds by Arnold Lobel. But it's just the book itself is presented almost in a way that it's more like a dictionary or an encyclopedia, because it tells you a little bit about the birds, but it's the pictures that I really liked because of how they take ordinary objects and make them into birds. There's a money bird, that one I really remember. Just very interesting to me how that book was presented. Whereas this book that we read, Harold and the Magic and His Purple Crayon, it is both visual as well as you can just read it and not have to see the visuals.
I think it's interesting that he was a cartoonist. So this book is about a kid that one evening he's sitting there thinking, and he's got this purple crayon in his hand, and he decides to start drawing his own world as he goes. Clearly the purple crayon is an infinity stone. That's what I came to realize as I was looking through this book again, because he literally creates life and a world around him with just this purple crayon.
I see.
This book was published in 1955, which makes sense because in 1955, Harold was a name that kids might have. By 1983, though, it wasn't. And therefore, I have only in my life ever met one other Harold that was my age. I'm sure there are some, but I've only met one in my moving all over Michigan in my life. Only met one.
Yeah, Josh is much more common. I had 3 Joshes in my class of 100 people.
Oh, yeah. Josh is super common.
Yeah, very, very common, very biblical.
Yep.
Yeah, that's why it was very popular in my area. But now there's not a lot of Joshes around me, which is great.
No, because people name kids weird stuff now. Like, every kid is named after a state, or they'll call him Bixelby or something. And I mean, that's great, whatever. I just wonder.
What did Musk try to name his kid? It's like,
what's that?
Elon Musk named his kid something super weird.
Oh, yeah. It was really strange. And I mean, we can accept those names, but I remember, have you ever read Freakonomics?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So in Freakonomics, they actually are able to show through statistics that odd names make it harder to get a job. Mm-hmm. Because if a hiring manager feels unsure of how to pronounce a name because of their own ego, they won't call on that person because they don't want to mess up the name and look silly. And so they will go for a more traditional name a lot of times. Now, there is also, in some cases, a racial factor to it where they'll see a name and they'll be like, but that they kind of have to push off too, because obviously there are laws out there that go against discrimination. But it's not just people of races other than white that have strange names. I had a lady come into the store one time, and she had her baby, and I was like, oh, she's so cute. I'm like, what's her name? And she goes, Alaska. And I'm like, why though? But why? So, I mean, it is what it is. That kid's got to deal with that though when they get older.
Exactly.
That's the thing. That kid's got to deal with that someday. It seems cute now, but man.
Well, there is a legal way to change your name. So
there is. And I'm not shitting on people for naming their kids funny names. It's just that there is something to a name. I mean, even like with me, my name is Harold. I can tell you right now that I am about positive that when someone hears Harold, they think that I'm going to be like some 60 or 70-year-old man when they meet me. In fact, one of the jokes I tell people to remember my name is they'll say Harold, and they'll, oh, I haven't heard that name in a long time. And I go, yeah, I'm the last 30-year-old Harold you'll ever meet. You know, I mean, it's...
Well, there's literally a meme named after you.
Yeah, let me tell you, my whole life I've had to deal with, before anybody gets all upset because I'm talking about people's names and, you know, we get all in the weeds about like, oh, don't tease people because of their names, blah, blah, blah. My whole life, every time there's an idiot, every time there's a buffoon, every time there is a super nerd or anything like that, it's Harold every time. Commercials, movies, TV shows, every fucking time. I have never seen a cool or able to do anything Harold. And what makes me laugh about that is that my dad, my grandpa, and I are probably three of the most capable people that exist. We can literally pick up things and begin learning how to do them immediately every fucking time. I mean, you've met my dad.
Oh,
you didn't
yeah.
meet my grandpa. You didn't meet my grandpa, but he's the one who taught us all that. And I mean, I watched Forged in Fire, liked it, built a forge, and started making knives. I'm a capable person. So whenever I see those commercials or TV shows and they're all like, Harold, oh, Harold, here comes Harold, I'm like, ah. So I've been putting up with it my whole life. You just get thick skin and you go ahead and deal with it and move on.
Well, that's why they just keep using Harold, because they know that it won't bother you guys anymore. Y'all got tough.
Yeah,
y'all tough now.
Nah, they're like, all the Heralds are dead. They're dead or they're dying.
I mean, you stopped it, so.
Yeah. It's not like there's a 30-year-old Harold out there. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's how I got to name my kids, though. Just suggested I wanted a fourth.
I think it would have been cool to have a fourth, but.
Right. Yeah, it might have been. It might have been. So, Harold and the Purple Crayon, though, this book is about what looks like a baby, dude, to be honest, right? I mean, you saw the picture of Harold, didn't you?
Looks like a toddler.
It looks like maybe a toddler. He's wearing like yes, he can walk, obviously.
He's wearing a onesie, but I mean, I have a onesie. It's Captain America
Right.
onesie. It's really cool.
Dude, adult onesies didn't exist in the 90s. You know damn well that our parents were not walking around in onesies.
That's definitely a product of our generation, for sure.
That's a millennial thing or a zennial or whatever it is. So Harold decides one night that he's going to go for a walk in the moonlight, but he doesn't have a moon. So Harold, as all Heralds will, he thinks well about it and decides to create his own moon. If there's not one there, he'll make it for himself, you know. And so he draws a little half moon, and then he draws a path to walk on because he needed somewhere to go. He needed something to walk on. And once he starts walking down the path for a while, it was a straight path, and he's like, you know, I'm getting bored. So he goes off the straight path, because why stay on the beaten path, you know? Forge ahead, make new roads, you know? Wait, can I say that? Like a rock. No, damn it. But yeah, so he starts walking away, and it's kind of cool how this book is, because like as he walks off, he's always got the crayon out. And so it starts making a line to show where the land is. And wherever he walks ahead of him, he's drawing a line. So he's got land. And the perspective of the book allows for it to look like he's walking on the earth, you know. And he gets bored as he's walking along. There's nothing around. So he decides to make a forest because he wants some scenery. So he starts drawing this tree, and he ends up turning it into an apple tree.
Well,
but
first, I want to address this. He says it's a forest, but a very small forest. It only has one tree. That's not a forest. That's a tree.
No, that's a field. That's a field with a tree in it.
That's a tree.
Yeah. He's a toddler, bro.
I don't care. You climb up this freaking apple tree pretty easy that I drew.
Obviously a dumb toddler, but he's a toddler.
He's apparently a smart toddler because...
He's a smart, dumb toddler, okay?
So he's a toddler, is what you're saying.
You can be... Yeah, he's a toddler, yep. You can be smart and dumb at the same time. But yeah, he's looking at these apples that he's got in this tree, and he's like, man, those are going to be tasty. And, you know, he wants to protect his stuff. He doesn't want people taking these apples before they're ripe, and decides to draw a dragon. But the dragon ends up being pretty goddamn scary.
It was just a dragon. Did it have a big beefy arm coming out the back of his neck?
I want to note that this is a dragon, by the way. There's a huge argument that goes on, and I've seen the argument levied at Game of Thrones and a couple other things where they'll be like, it's a dragon, it's a dragon, it's a dragon. The dragons in Game of Thrones are actually wyverns. Their forelimbs are wings, okay? A dragon has 4 legs. So this is a dragon here. It's an important distinction.
Good to know. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. If it's got wings for its forelimbs, it's a wyvern, not a dragon. Now, a dragon can have wings as long as it has 4 legs.
What about the dragon from the Neverending Story?
That is a dragon. Yeah, he's got 4 legs. Yeah. He doesn't fly because of wings, though. He flies because of magic.
He is furry. He's a furry dragon.
Yeah. He's a furry dragon, but he's still a dragon. He's kind of like a Japanese style dragon.
I was just realizing that because as a kid, I was like, he doesn't look like a dragon. I don't think he's actually a dragon. But now I'm just like, oh no, he's much more of the Asian style dragon.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he's like a Japanese style dragon. Yeah. So this dragon was scary enough that it frightened Harold, and he starts walking away, and as always, he's got the crayon out behind him, but his hand starts like shaking, and before he knows it, he's in the ocean because the crayon is drawing these wavy lines, and it turns out that means water in purple crayon drawing. But Harold, being diligent, intelligent, and able to make do with bad situations, draws a boat, pulls himself into it. It's not just any boat. He makes it a sailboat because he knows that it'd be easier to get wind to push him than have to use oars like a chump.
Why wouldn't he just draw a motor? That would be even faster.
Well, I mean, he's a little kid. He can't use a motorboat. He knows that.
But he'd think to use oars or a sail. You know how hard it is to get a sailboat to work?
It can't be that hard. This little kid's doing it. He sails to land.
Again, he must have drawn all the riggings and stuff himself because he needed all that in order to get a sailboat to work properly.
He didn't need the riggings. It's a magic boat drawn with a purple crayon, dude.
Terrible.
But yeah, he ends up deciding that he's sailed long enough, so he goes and he draws land and walks up onto it, and he draws an anchor and puts it on the land so he doesn't lose his boat. You know, so all this stuff like hangs out after he walks away too. He's walking along in this 2D world. I wonder if this is the 2D world that they're talking about in Wrinkle in Time.
I was just wondering about that, but I don't think it is.
It could be.
No, because Harold is still able to breathe. Oh, but Harold's 2 dimensions.
He's 2 dimensions. He's 2 dimensions, dude.
It could be.
It very well could be.
Mind blown.
He draws things for perspective, but it's 2D perspective, you know, kind of a 3D perspective on a 2D plane. But he's hungry, so he decides to make himself a little picnic. So he draws a blanket, and he decides he's going to have pie because fuck them rules about eating real dinner, you know.
Well, there was nothing but pie.
There was nothing but pie. It was all the pies that he liked best. 9 kinds of pie. But it doesn't even say what kinds of pie they were, just that there were 9 of them.
Are there even 9 kinds of pie that you like?
I mean, I like the right kind of apple pie. It's got to be made out of like Granny Smith, like sour apples though.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be made out of sour apples. I like rhurberb pie. I like key lime pie. I like there's a lemon
banana cream
pie. Banana cream pie is good. I don't. Do you consider cheesecake a pie?
I was just thinking that myself, and I think I think.
I mean, it's in a pie pan.
And it uses a pie crust.
Yeah.
But in that same way, an Oreo pie is a pie.
Right. So I don't know if that's a pie because I feel like a pie's got to have. I mean, even key lime wouldn't be a pie in that. So, but they call it key lime pie. So yeah, no, I'd say that's a pie.
Well,
I'd say they're pies.
Is this author British?
No, he was American.
Because
he was a
over in Britain they have a lot of different pies, basically like pot pies.
Right.
But
like meat pies and whatnot.
Shepherd's pie, all those different types of pies as well. And so if they incorporate that, then definitely they'll get up to nine types of pie.
Right. I think there's plenty of dessert pies out there.
Yeah. Cherry pie.
I don't think we can think of all 9, but we were already at 5. Yeah, cherry pie. Yeah, we're already at 9 or at 5 or 6. So, I mean, yeah, there's easily enough pies.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But he can only eat what looks to be a third of each of the 9 pies. That's a lot of fucking pie. Yeah, dude. You're like, man, this kid was... Yeah, dude. It's like a third of each of these pies.
And it doesn't show any crumbs on him. Bullshit. He's a toddler. He was going to get some stuff all over his face and on his jammies for sure.
I'm not even sure how he ate this pie, though, because it's made out of purple crayon drawings. So, I mean...
Why didn't he draw himself a fork?
He didn't draw... Or a knife, yet he cut it perfectly into these thirds that he took out.
I mean, he could draw the cut.
He probably did draw the cut.
He drew the cut and then just used his hands. Still, you'd think you'd get some on your hands. And what kind of a person doesn't use whipped cream on a pie?
It was 1955, dude. Things were pretty bland back then. But it was pretty bland. Yeah, the world was bland. The world was bland in 1955.
That's why they needed whipped cream. They needed Cool Whip.
He didn't want the pie to go to waste, so he draws what looks to be an emaciated moose.
I was just about to say, a very, very skinny moose.
Yeah, he said it's a hungry moose. This moose is on its deathbed. Its ribs are showing and stuff. And a porcupine, but he leaves them behind to go ahead and eat the pie. And he wants to go find a hill to climb up so that he can find out where exactly he is, because he's been walking for a while. He's a toddler. He's probably getting tired. So knowing that going higher means he could see further, he starts to draw a mountain and he climbs it. Which, I mean, kids in 1955, man, they were doing all kinds of stuff. Look at just a couple years later, Sam Gribley was out in the woods.
You mean earlier?
By himself. Was it earlier?
That was the 20s, wasn't it?
I thought it was the late 50s.
The book was released in early 60s.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Sam Gribley was in the late 50s. He was out there. I don't think it was written for the 20s.
Well, then this is right around the same time.
Yeah, right around the same time. Sam Gribley was out there living by himself in the woods.
It seemed like so long ago that we read that. It was like 5 weeks ago.
Yeah. But he's getting tired. He wants to go to bed. So he gets to the top of the mountain and he's looking over and he kind of like lost his balance and slipped and he falls, but he hadn't drawn the other side of the mountain at that point.
So he starts falling and he could have been falling for 20 minutes. But
yeah,
he probably didn't take that long because, again, this kid's fairly bright.
He's quick. He's good at drawing, too. He draws almost a perfect circle while falling, which he uses as a balloon.
This didn't look very balloon-like to me. It looked like a circle.
At first, for sure. But then he starts to draw the ropes and the little bucket to stand in.
I believe it's called a basket, Harold.
Bucket, basket, whatever. But this gives him a pretty good view, but he's still not seeing his window. So he decides to go ahead and just draw a house. So he draws a house and he lands the balloon down in the yard in front, but none of the windows in this house are his window.
And this is like some freaky Sims house because there's also no doors.
Yeah, there is no door. Maybe the doors are on the other side.
Nope, I refuse to believe that.
Yeah.
It's a two-dimensional world, and therefore there's no doors, and those people are trapped inside forever.
This kid's got some time on his hands, so he starts drawing a skyscraper with windows. Also, no doors on this building either. And I mean, he draws a lot of windows. Just on one of them, there's 14 windows right here on this page, and none of them are his though. You know, I wonder, does Harold know whether he lives in an apartment building or a house? I feel like he's not sure. You know, the moon is on almost every page.
It is.
There is one set here where this.
It's a reoccurring character.
Yeah, there's this one page here where he draws a whole city of windows, a whole city of buildings and windows, and the moon is on one of the pages, not the other. But it's a 2-page affair. It's not just one page of pictures. And the next page is the same way. And none of these windows are his, though. So he draws a policeman. And this is the worst drawing he's made so far, actually, is the policeman with googly eyes and, like...
His claw fingers. He has,
he's got
Moonanite hands.
Pointy Moonanite claw hands. And the police officer just points in the direction that Harold was going, but he thanks him anyways and begins walking. And that is when Harold remembers something about his window. Can you guess what it is, Josh?
Does it have something to do with the pie?
Nope. Something that looks like a pie.
Oh yeah, the recurring character.
Yeah. And when it hits your eye,
like a big pizza pie.
Yeah, like a big pizza pie. Yep.
Well, that's Amore.
Yeah, of course. Everyone knows that. So the moon, he can always see it through his window. So he starts to draw his window around the moon. And he draws some curtains, then he draws a bed, and then he literally draws up his covers. And that's when he drops the crayon and falls asleep.
Nice.
Yep. Now, it's funny. When I was a kid, I clearly remember, like, purple was one of my favorite colors, and I'm sure that it was because of this book. Like, I read this book a lot when I was a kid because, obviously, it's got my name. And he goes off on an adventure and he uses his imagination. But I used to like purple a lot. That's why Donatello is my favorite Ninja Turtle.
Okay.
I would carry purple markers and purple crayons. I would keep them and I would use that color often. Red is my color now, but when I was a kid, I loved purple, and I'm pretty sure that it has to do with this book.
It's good reasoning for it because it is, it has your name. It was very important for you, so of course you're gonna have it attachment to it. In the color. Plus, purple goes really good with green. So
it does.
I don't know why.
Because purple and green are great together. Look at the Joker.
Well, everybody says Joker, but
that guy's put together.
But Barney's also purple and green. So
well, yeah, but I mean Barney.
I love you.
There was literally, when I was a kid, there was this one week where I woke up one morning and Barney was on, and I was like, wow, this is really great. And I liked it for a week. And the next week I was like, wow, this is stupid. Like, it was the last week of me being young enough to like Barney that I started watching it. And then the next week I was like, wow, this is dumb. This is for little kids.
Nice.
Yeah. It was weird. I even thought at that time, I'm like, how did I have that awakening like in a week?
It happens. It just does.
Yeah, man. At some point, you just go from being a little kid that likes little kid things to boom, all of a sudden you're like, I don't like little kid things anymore. I'm a big kid now.
I remember liking Power Rangers for about a week. It was about a week that I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I was like, this is really dumb. I don't like this as much.
Power Rangers got me for a couple of years, but I'm a couple of years younger than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It got my brother a little bit too.
Yep.
And he's
I was into Power
age.
Rangers. So. I would say into like the second or third season. And then I was like, wow, this is bad.
And now they make these movies that are, I mean, I enjoy them for what they are. Have you seen the newest Power Ranger movie, the gritty one?
No.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, wait. Are you talking about the newer, like, big deal one that they had where they tried to reboot it a few years
Bryan
ago?
Cranston's, isn't it?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
wasn't terrible.
No, it wasn't terrible.
It was
pretty decent.
It could have been better. I think that with the time and the technology we have to make a movie, it could have been better. There could have been better fight scenes and whatnot, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was terrible.
I agree. Same. We basically feel, it's good.
I would watch it again. I think.
Like the A-Team. Oh, I love the A-Team, but it didn't do well enough in the box office, so they're never going to get another one. Oh, man.
I know. That A-Team was so good. I don't know what's wrong with people. What is wrong with people? That was so good, dude. The part where they're in the tank and they're fucking falling and they're like, are they trying to shoot down the drones? And she's like, no, they're flying that tank. And he's fucking like, fire, boom, and they're moving it along. That was so cool.
It was good.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that was a great movie. I don't know why it didn't do well. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, another thing from that same era is coming back to TV. Have you heard about the MacGruber TV series that they're making?
MacGruber?
The SNL skit, MacGruber? It was making fun.
I've seen the movie MacGruber.
Yeah, that is based on a Saturday Night Live sketch, and they're turning that into an actual show. So it's going to be like MacGyver, but it's MacGruber.
I remember watching that movie. I personally liked it. I like Will Forte. Shyla did not like that movie particularly. However, she did like Last Man on Earth, which I also enjoyed. I enjoyed Last Man on Earth too, because I don't know, Will Forte's comedy is funny to me.
I liked that show up until other people showed up, and then I was like, well, he's no longer the last man on Earth. I don't care about this show anymore.
And you always had to have other people show up, though. And it was funny. I mean, what they did with it was too bad they ended it the way they did, because honestly, first off, it was left on a cliffhanger.
Oh.
Yeah. It's one of those shows where they didn't end it well. They just went, nope, we're not making any more. And it's like, fuck. Yes. I hate that, dude. Like, at least pay the fans lip service. At that point, that's why I can't stand mega corporations, because at that point they're like, well, we've made the money we're going to make off this. Screw them. No, it's not going to hurt you. It would not hurt them. Somebody would argue, well, you can't expect them to lose money. It would not hurt them. It would not hurt them at all. They wouldn't even notice the money's gone because they're already driving their gold jet skis around their private islands. Make 3 episodes, fucking end it properly. Don't leave the fans hanging who have earned you money for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. They've done that with a few shows, but some show I like now, a lot of shows will purposefully end a season where you could be satisfied with that being the end, or they could make more, you know, like Titans did that.
Yeah, you told me to watch Titans because I could watch it. I think I'm going to do the same thing with Doom Patrol, because I haven't watched the second season yet, but I know that they're getting a third season, so I believe I can do the second season as well. Yeah,
the second season of Titans, they ended it in a way that, no, you wouldn't want it to end, but you could be satisfied with that.
Exactly,
ending.
Yeah. It tied up all the loose ends, but it added some new threads to it for them to go down.
Yeah.
So.
And they decided to make a third season? Great. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
But they were smart enough to tie it up enough that if they didn't get a third season, they could have left it there. Jupiter's Legacy did not do that.
No, because they were sure that they were getting a second season.
Oh yeah, Jupiter's Legacy was so sure they were getting a second season that they used the last 5 minutes to set up a huge cliffhanger.
To the point where I had to get the friggin' graphic novels, and then I didn't end up reading them because I was reading Ender's Game. But
no, I looked into the graphic novels myself because I'm like, well, guess I got to read the graphic novels now.
Yeah, I can get them again. They're at the library. I was busy with reading other things. So
what's funny is that Invincible, which is a far superior show on Amazon, far superior. The way they ended the first season, no, you wouldn't want it to end there, but you could see that tying it up like, okay, this has happened. You know, this sucks.
They announced the second season before the first season was out more than it was like, I think I was out 2 days. And they're like, we're making a second season.
We're making a second season. Well, because it was just excellent. I mean, it's an excellent show.
Good.
If you haven't watched Invincible and you don't have a squeamish stomach, you should watch Invincible. It is a great show.
It is so good.
I will not say anything to you, but if you're 20 minutes into it and you're like, okay, this is a standard superhero show, just finish the first episode. Finish the first episode.
Because you'll quickly be like, okay, time to watch episode 2.
Time to watch the next episode. Yep.
Because I believe you and I were going to just watch the first episode, and then we were like, nope. Because we're watching the second one.
No, I had already watched it.
Oh, that's
remember?
right. You had already previewed it because you couldn't wait.
I had already watched it. Yep. And we got to the end and I was like, hold on. Hold on to your butts.
Yep. That's exactly what happened. Oh, great show.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And so we've devolved into shows, obviously.
Yeah, we knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about Ender's Game at all because we wanted to save that for Andy.
Yep.
We did absolutely want to make sure that you guys got some content on Tuesday because we know you love us so much and you want to hear more.
It's because it's just your voice, Harold. It's just so soothing.
So soothing. I do want to say that to the people out there listening to us, we have some regular listeners that are listening to us week after week. And I don't want to have to be shamelessly asking, but I'm going to. If you could, on whatever you listen to us on, if you could just give us a 5-star review if you think we've earned it, and even just the stars is good, but if you want to write something short, it doesn't have to be long, but that would greatly help us out. That would help us move up a little bit to gain in some more listeners. And it's a small thing to do. And I know it seems unimportant when you're just listening to the episode and maybe you're listening to the car and you don't have the time at that moment. But if you could just take a moment and give us a review, give us the stars. I would love for it to be 5. That would really help us out. I know you hear that on every podcast, but there's a reason for that. So I just wanted to get that out there. I'm shamelessly asking, and I'm going to stop before I'm shamelessly begging.
Yeah, I'm going to just add on to that. It's the algorithm, and I used to be one of those people that was like, they don't need me to review it. They have all these listeners. But then I started listening to some smaller ones, and since then I've gone back and reviewed them because it does help. It really does help them gain more views, and it shows that there's interest in us. And by showing that there is interest in us, that gets to more people, and that builds and builds, and it really does help. Even just one review helps. So please, if you could, and of course, tell your friends. If you like us, tell your friends about us, because word of mouth is really one of the best ways for us to gain listeners, is to have you tell people about us. So
if you're not previously famous or already the child of a business magnate, then word of mouth is always going to be the best. I mean, sure, you wake up every morning and you know about Walmart, but early on when it was Sam Walton, it was word of mouth as it spread from county to county that got him to where he is. And we're not trying to be Sam Walton, and we're not even necessarily trying to, make a big thing out of this. What we really want, though, is we want to keep doing this. And it has been fun so far, and we intend to keep doing it. We enjoy doing it, and we have ideas coming down that we'll be doing in the future. And we have more plans to go with this. So, yeah.
Excellent. Well, Harold, I think that wraps it up for this week.
I think so myself. We actually ended up making it to a pretty decent little podcast. So it should be somewhere around 35, 40 minutes, I think.
Yeah, give or take.
All right.
Couple 3. So, as Andy would say, give a shit, read some lit. And thanks for stopping by and listening to us today.
Yep. Thanks. Have a nice night.